and hope, progress and prosperity depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Today, thousands and thousands of Africans and many countries in Africa have conflicts. Notably, from Libya, Cameroon, Nigeria, Biafra, and Boko Haram, to Democratic Republic of Congo, of where we have seen a resurgence of the past military and conflicts coming back in that country. Hundreds and hundreds of people have been displaced, killed, maimed, tortured, raped, several of them dying of hunger, starvation, and other natural causes. The fighting seems not to be ending. For the sake of Libya, the Libyan recognized international government is under siege in Tripoli from another faction recognized by Egypt, France, UAE, and other countries. Whereas the one in Tripoli is recognized by the UN, it has been bombarded, has been strangulated, and many millions of Libyans are dying of hunger, lack of water. The water system has been cut off. The bombardment goes on. In Democratic Republic of Congo, we've seen more of active rebel activities returning to the region after some silence has been observed. When we come to Cameroon, we see millions and millions of Amazonians slaughtered. Yet, when you come to Biafra, again millions and hundreds of millions and millions are worried, displaced, tortured by the Buhari regime. Yet again in the north, we see Boko Haram killing, maiming, abducting, and burning down villages in the same Nigeria. When you cross over to Central African Republic, the same is the history that has littered Africa. While all these events are taking shape, Africa is silent. Africa is not making enough efforts to find a solution to what is causing the problems in Libya, in DRC, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, Biafra, and now you add in Khartoum, Sudan. As people die, the people of Africa have no answers, have no solutions. There is nothing to endear to bring an end to the conflicts that have killed Africa. We seem to be new ones manufactured, old ones reignited, encouragement coming from external powers. One power that has been seen in the shadows of all these conflicts, especially the one of Libya that has escalated in the Sahara region of Africa, is France. When you come to Democratic Republic of Congo, the same country is in the shadows. The war can be seen is France. When you come to Cameroon, in Amazonia, the one behind that has the key to bringing peace is France. Therefore, our question And our question as Africans, why are we silent? Why are we not saying enough is enough of the wars? Thank you.
You know, when one is asked to talk about leadership in Africa, one's mind wanders in many directions, because in the recent past, the continent of Africa has been the subject of scrutiny from many quarters. There are those who are Afro-pessimists and take the view that Africa will never realize our potential. There are those Afro-optimists who take the view that the jury is still out on the success or otherwise of the continent of Africa. I am an Afro-optimist. I take the view that this continent has had a glorious past, and that this continent has had her trials and tribulations, but her better days are in the future. There are those who, when talking about Africa, are in the habit of dealing with Africa as if it were one monolithic block. They do not recognize that the beauty of Africa is in her diversity. And indeed, when you care to undertake a geographical survey of Africa, you will be amazed at what the west of Africa offers, what the center of Africa offers, what the south of Africa offers, what the Horn of Africa offers, and what the north of Africa offers. That is the continent that we are talking about today. And we are talking about her because she continues in many ways to punch below her weight. And many are the commentators who take the view that the reason why she continues to punch below her weight is because the men and women who have had the privilege and honor to serve her in different political capacities or leadership capacities have not served her well. There may be merit in that assessment, but those who are quick to judge, those whose only claim to fame is that they are professional fault finders, must ask many questions before they judge and condemn Africa unfairly. This continent, and I remember, and if we are to judge this continent fairly, we must go back to the past and look to the past and ask about this continent. And there are many who have written about this continent. How many of you here will forget the great writings of Senegal's Anta Cheikh Diop, who has documented in many ways the glorious past of the continent of Africa, the great kingdoms in Africa. When Europe was still in the caves, Africans were building monuments. If they were not building them in the Ashanti Empire, they were building them in Monomotapa here in Zimbabwe. And there is a sense in which all those have been consigned to the Museum of History. And those who look at Africa see Africa as a scar on the conscience of humanity, not remembering that they were themselves co-authors of Africa's misfortunes. We are the only continent and the only people in the world who have been commodified. How many of you will remember that agrarian Europe had to commodify Africa in order to realize our level of development? At one time in those early days, we will remember, even as we talk about leadership, that half of the population of this continent was taken away. If they were not taken away from Ghana, which they then christened Gold Coast, they were taken away from Angola. If they were not taken away from Angola, they were taken away from Mozambique. If they were not taken from Mozambique, they were taken from Senegal. If the Arabs were not taking us, the Europeans were taking us. If the Europeans in their different tribes were not conquering us, they were stealing from us. Those are the realities that we don't talk about when we talk about this continent. And you know, if one cares to judge the African continent, one must be historically conscious. The oldest African country after we regained our independence from greater chief. And the question that we must ask ourselves, why is it that this continent finds ourselves in that space? If it is not Europe summoning us, it is the United States of America summoning us. Everybody is in the business of summoning us. One may ask, what has this to do with leadership? You know, I listened to the Chinese president speaking in eloquent Mandarin, saying how the relationship between Africa and China is a mutually beneficial relationship. He spoke about Africa as if it was one country. He did not remind himself, in my mind, that there are 55 countries in Africa, or 54 if you ask Morocco. And I listened to the Chinese president specifically mentioning the Gambia and a few others, and Sao Tome and Principe, that they were welcomed back to the world because they had renounced their relationship with Taiwan and they had now recognized the one China policy. Do I say this because there is anything wrong with China? No. I'm saying this because the Chinese are providing leadership for their people. They know exactly what they want for their people, and they are doing exactly what they want for their people for the benefit of their people. The question that I'm posing to us, do we know what we want for our people? Are we doing what we need for our people? And the answer is, I doubt. Why do I doubt? I doubt because at the end of the entire enterprise, the Chinese president said that he had given, or his government had given, 60 billion United States dollars to 54 African countries. Notionally, therefore, each country would be entitled to no more than 1.5 billion. Half of the presidents who are present in China, each one of them, half of them, can produce 1.5 billion. Sportsmen in Europe and America, including boxers, can earn $1 billion in a single bout. And we are here celebrating and singing the praises of China because they gave us 60 billion. Once again, it is a statement of their ability to recognize what leadership is all about. I'm submitting to us that when we interact with people like the Chinese, there is something to learn from them. We may condemn them at forums such as this, but there is wisdom in asking ourselves, how is it that this country, which about 30 years ago could not feed half our population, has in 30 years during our lifetime succeeded in pulling up nearly 800 million people out of poverty? How is it that every road that is now being built in Africa whether the road is in Benin or in Nairobi, Kenya, or in Johannesburg, South Africa, or in Kigali, in Rwanda, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is a Chinese firm whose name I cannot pronounce as the contractor for that firm. How is it? How is it that China, which about 30 years ago did not produce a mobile phone, today out of every 10 mobile phones, we are using 6 which are from China? If it is not Techno, it is some other phone. If we are not inviting Jack Ma, we are inviting another Chinese, because we have seen that they have the ability to organize their affairs. Some of us, particularly those of us who are in the middle class, our pride is that our child is learning Mandarin as a second language, not isiZulu, Mandarin.
Good morning, Africa, wherever you are. Thank you very much for watching us again. This morning, we are not very late, 16 minutes past 11 East African Standard Time. Together with me in the studio is none other than Miriam Ogutu, my co-partner in this broadcasting systems of Punchline Africa TV, the only television in Africa that talks about Africa, that eats Africa, that defends Africa, that enjoys talking and defending and exposing problems that Africa has befallen itself into, self-inflicted wounds of borders, of corruption, of negligence, pure ignorance, disease, poverty. 67 years of independence since the first country got independence of Ghana. We still have people suffering from malaria. We still have people suffering from various diseases that can be cured. Our hospitals are not equipped to the level that we deserve to be called we are liberated. Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you very much. Test the microphones yourself. We have plenty in the house.
We do.
Yes.
We do have plenty in the house, and you're saying we still die of diseases that are curable. Imagine, just the other day I was reading a report, only this year alone, 3,500 people have died in the DRC from measles. Like, which country do still people die from measles? So Africa, I think we still have a long way to go. And yes, so on today's, of course, the topics we'll be looking at Kenya, and of course today is the deadline for the old 1,000 Kenya shillings note, and what next for the looters. The central bank governor gave us, a statistic here, and quite a number of billions of these notes have not made their way to the central bank.
Yeah, because they got it illegally.
So they're
we
afraid
talk
of
about
returning.
that. Why is the money not brought to the bank? Because the bank will ask you, where did you get it? Over 500,000 shillings banked a daily basis. The bank flashes the flag, raise the red flag. Your account is flashed, and they want to know how you got it. So some of the looters who have this money, who were getting contracts, who were influencing, who were peddling influence to be given contracts, have the money. The contractors could use 10 million and keep 30 million. They have the money. Now, if you go to bank, you will be asked, sir, where did you get it? You have to explain. Whoever paid you must also explain. So this one is the first one to work today. It has worked. So the governor of the central bank should not get worried about the notes that are out there that we don't know. Because it will, from tomorrow, from tonight, 1 minute past midnight, you will not tender it anywhere.
And Silvanus here is telling us that yesterday Ruto splashed around 11 million of old there are 1,000 shillings not in Vihiga County. Silvanus,
yes, you said Deputy President paid 1 million, 11 million?
Yeah.
Some people are saying 12.
Using the same...
old currency. Yes. Yeah.
So this money was being hounded in the house?
Yes.
Because if at all it was gotten from the bank, you'll be having the new ones.
The new ones. Because in the bank now, when you go, they don't give you all the notes.
Yes, even at the ATM.
Yes.
You get the new notes.
So, hallelujah, let's wait. And maybe we shall help the central bank. Now, any external bank.
So that 11 million or 12 million today, people will be scrambling to go and change.
Yes.
So what will be happening?
No, they will you know, they have devised a method. They devised a method which they thought that it could beat up the system of President Uhuru Kenyatta and Njoroge. But Njoroge's system has worked. What was the purpose of changing these notes? The purpose of changing it to 1,000 notes was to lock out that money that has been illegally acquired, got through corruption, tendering, and so on. So the purpose has been achieved.
It has been achieved.
Yes. So don't look for that money.
Because anyway, after today,
Njoroge, tomorrow, don't look for that money. It is over. Let them have it or use it for as firewood.
To light the fire.
Yeah, to light, because it won't work anywhere. Yes.
So people are expecting, especially a lot of Kenyans, that I remember when India was changing to its new currency because of matters corruption, and people are not really banking money then. And so when they were given this time, a lot of Indians actually took the money to the bank, and the queues were unbelievable. So people are expecting that here. But what you know here, a lot of people who are having these monies in the house,
they fear. You fear to come to the bank with 50 million or 1 billion. If you have 1 billion shillings, you can't change it.
From where? Who keeps 1 billion in the house?
There are people who have been. You know now, Njoroge has told you why he is aware that this money was in circulation. It's because he prints the money.
Yes.
He has the serial numbers that have released the money.
Yes.
So he knows exactly that half of the money he was looking for is still out there. Some people have it.
You think they will try to return it today, or the spotlight will be too much on them?
Because if you go today, you prepare to go in jail with the money.
CBK is really looking.
Yes, they are there.
Accounts, yes.
All CIDs and the other people plain clothes, they are around those banks. So if you have it and you have given several people,
yes,
someone who has never banked even 10 shillings and is arriving with 200,000, there will be a query, a flash. The flag, the red flag is flashed. Your account is flashed.
Wow.
So that is where this is one of the projects that Jubilee has successfully done.
So this has been very successful.
Yes. There are people who are saying, oh, this. No, there is no oh. The purpose was to destroy those who had the money in the mattresses and in their bankers in the house. It has worked.
President Uhuru Kenyatta took a very radical route, but, it was necessary.
It was.
It was necessary.
It was necessary. And congratulations the Bank of Kenya, the Central Bank of Kenya, for doing a great job. You have taken us out of poverty, of faith, not poverty. Poverty, the hearts, rotten hearts of corruption.
But they will devise other ways of now collecting this new notes.
Even if, it's okay. It's okay, but this is what we are coming to, Miriam.
Yes.
After this, what next?
Yeah.
And that's the question we have asked our viewers. What next?
And not just even the politicians who was stashing this money. Even remember these mega scandals we've been experiencing from the NHIF and all this from the beginning of this year. A lot of these people are not banking these monies. So yes, they're going to lose, because how are you going to bank a whole 20 million, a whole 10 million? Yeah.
Yeah. So what next? The bank manager must move. The CPK, the Anti-Corruption Commission, the DCI, the DPP must be ready, especially the EACC and the CBK must work hand in hand now to put measures. One of the things that the President Uhuru Kenyatta needs to do today and do it now is from tomorrow, change the method of operation, work differently. Any tender from the government, let there be people, both internal and external examiners, before it is awarded. It is through this tender that we lost money in Kemeror. We lost. If people were there, experts, to look at the documentation, someone would point out and say, no, a bank guarantee does not mean you steal the money, then you come to the bank and say, because we gave you a bank guarantee, give us the money. No. Hiyo biashara haramu. You can't tell people that a bank guarantees real theft. A bank guarantee is to say, go and do the project. When you complete, we are here as a bank. But a bank hears you bought towels. A bank hears you bought hose. You bought shower gel. Cutlery. The people bought shower gel, the most expensive one that some of us use from Marks and Spencer.
For the hotel.
Towels, blankets, bed sheets. The DCI paraded the people here, 100 people.
And of course, they're continuing with it.
If you look at those statements that this guy has made, it is very embarrassing. So you borrow money to go and buy towels, but not to build the dam. So the bank cannot pay you. I have never seen a bank as stupid as that bank that knows that this money was used to do something else, then they come and pay. Even an insurance company cannot pay you when you are told that your car should live under a tree, but then you went and put it on top of the tree. So if it falls, insurance company has to ask, why did it fall when it was on the ground? You see,
yes. When
you were on the ground, why did it fall? It is not supposed to fall because it is on the ground where there is gravity. So something must have made it fall from the up. It was looking for gravity. So the insurance will not pay you because you parked the car in a different place.
And Silvanus here is saying for the first time, His Excellency Uhuru has been bold and he has scored. After old notes, he should recover all the assets acquired fraudulently and using stolen money. So now after we're done with this the deadline today, he's saying that now the Asset and Recovery, I think, authority, I think, should go after these assets that were recovered fraudulently.
Yes, that is the headline.
That is what one of our viewers here, Silvanus is saying. BR Garang, thank you for writing to us. You're saying, Dr. Matanga and Miriam, let us be honest. I hope the President of the Republic of Kenya is doing the right thing. Let us use the old money of Kenya without change. You want us to use do you mean the old or the own? Because I think maybe you could write that sentence right. It's too late. I think we already, the new currency, we've been using it for the last 4 months now, is it? Or 3 months?
Yes. It is very interesting that what next can the government do to stamp out this trade again so that people don't touch the tender? One of the things that I suggest, and if I were in government, or if I were President Uhuru Kenyatta's economic advisor, first, in these remaining 2 years and a half, no tender should be given to any institution without scrutiny of internal and external auditors and, external inspectors. The tender board should be scrapped.
The one that is existing
Yes.
now. Okay.
Because there exists a man who always tells someone, there is someone on that tender board who tells someone, I will pass this document. There is someone who says, don't worry, I will cover you up. You have seen this money of the scheming of the dam money and the rush to bank this money, the rush to spend this money. In fact, it was the speed at which people spend this money is like the speed at which Israel stopped the 1967 war. As Egypt was counting to go and bomb Israel, in 5 minutes, Israel jets came and bombed the entire air force of Egypt. The war ended. 1,700 planes, all of them seized. Gabriel Nasser said, thank you, surrender. They took Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights. The war ended, finished, finito. On the ground, the planes never went off. The planes never went off. Africans need to know this history. We are not here to teach, to talk news. What? We need to teach people to know. You go for an exam, they ask you, when did they end the Israel-Egypt war end? You said ended in 2022. Yeah. There are people who fail exam, they are very bright, they want to pass they can't pass an exam. When you ask them, where is the source of River Nile? He says it is in Cape Town.
Can you imagine Cape Town all the way to Egypt?
Then you ask a Mzungu. I have ever gone with a Bazungu for an interview. They say, where is Cairo? It is in Lagos. They don't know.
A lot of them think Africa is one huge country.
Yes.
When they talk about Africa, they don't know we have 54 of us.
Yeah. And they are doing very well. But we thank you very much, all of you, that in the notes, today you still have some time to go and change that one note that is in your wallet. If you take there 200 million, you have to go with an explanation. You sold the cows, or I am told the farmers in Narok, people bought a lot of wheat in Narok, but they left the burden to those farmers. The banks have been flushed in Narok. CBK has flushed some banks. So there is going to be, if you are found with that currency of that nature, it is also a crime. From tomorrow.
I know the farmers there might not have known much.
Yes, from tomorrow. So the best is, there is a river that flows around there from Mao Forest. Pour it, let it go. Let it go. Put it there.
Yes.
Then some pour in the river, let it go. Tana River, pour it. Mara. Let it go. Everything that came with unsolicited, with dirty hands, goes with dirty hands.
Must go.
There is no clean hand for dirty things.
And according to the Daily Nation here on the front page, up there it says the Central Bank of Kenya will destroy all the old 1,000 shillings Kenyans notes collected as the final stage in the 4-month demonetization process that officially ends today. As soon as the computers are switched off at the close of business this evening, all the banknotes not yet converted will become worthless pieces of paper, and many banks close by 4 p.m., which means that they will be the actual deadline and not midnight. So the banks will be actually...
Yeah, but you can go to the airport and the bank.
You can go to the airport and bank?
Yes. The banks at the airport work 24 hours. Before midnight.
Before midnight.
You can run to the airport at Jomo Kenyatta and the bank. And as usual, Africa and Africans, we have a problem. We come last minute. If you go to the bank now, they are all crowded there.
I'm sure. Today.
I'm telling you, they are crowded there.
Yes.
People, that's why I'm telling you, when you are doing politics of Africa, be careful. When you are doing the politics of Kenya, be careful. Don't throw your money yet. Don't throw your money yet. Do you know that the people now who are celebrating in the churches, clapping, I tell you by 2022, some of them will not know the deputy president. I'm telling you, this is political science. They will not know. They will want more. You know, someone who comes that time with the money towards the end, haki ya Mungu atakupita. African politics is that way. And this is a reality. We are not condemning anybody. It is a good job. Kenyans must know. Development must work. But if you are campaigning too early now, like what DP is doing, he's a very good friend of mine. I have no problem with him at all. Maybe he doesn't like me, but me, I like him. I have no problem with him. Nowhere. I have let it be known to some of his, followers. I have nothing. I like him. That's why I went out to stand for him. And I said, Ocampo, you a thief. You will not take these two younger men. So I am proud. Even if he doesn't give me anything, I am proud to see him as an orator talk. I'm very proud, though, to see him, to see them there. Have you seen the problem now of Kenya and Somalia? Can you read page 9? If you are Kenyan, read page 9. You might cry tears. Read page 9 of this newspaper. Read it. You'd cry tears. Page 9, what does it tell you? How Kenya bungled Somali border talks. Read it. If you don't want a heart attack, don't come here. Don't read it, page 9 of the Daily Nation. Look at the way some of us are fighting. I go to that place without money. And I make Somalia pee. They pee. One single man, not even wasting this amount of money.
Can I just read the first
Mr. President, look at this. I just came in 1 month. There is rattling everywhere. You have seen the topic last night. It went like a fire. Everybody is copying it and calling me. My phone is full. You said it as it is. Famijo is false man. False president. This is an American satellite man. And Somalis cannot be proud of an American leading them. Now I was talking and the people thought I was a liar. The Minister of Finance of Somalia said, Qatar gave us the money to buy the embassy. The president have you seen a liar? Lies catch each other. President of Somalia said it came from government coffers. Which coffers? Does Somalia have a central bank? Where does Somalia bank its central money? And the money was paid by the Habashir. In New York, America can take you to prison for laundering $10. What did they do to the Habashir? Why didn't they catch them? Where did this money come from? You see the double standards. They are eating each other now. The Minister of Finance says, no, it is Qatar that paid for our... The President says, no, it came from the coffers. My 96 MPs, remember me, look at this voice. We are coming. Get more. Let's get the number needed to remove this famijo. Yes. Yes. People, Kenya, if you don't speak, they don't... Look at this money. Miriam, if you read this article, And you are doing a free job running planes will kill me because of this.
let me read the
Look
first
at that.
paragraph.
You can't read it.
You know,
3 billion.
so
3 billion? How much money is this?
Kenya bungled negotiations that would have led to an amicable solution to the raging dispute over its maritime border with neighboring Somalia, the Daily Nation can now reveal. All indications point to the fact that authorities tasked with handling that issue failed to take serious the initial talks initiated by Somalia. So actually, Somalia at first had initiated some talks, and the people who were tasked to handle this matter did not care.
Go on reading. You will have a heart attack.
I want the money part.
Come to the money part.
Where is it? According to the multiple interviews and memorials filed at the International Court of Justice, the negotiation team, led by officials from the Attorney General's office and the Kenya International Boundaries Office, slept on the job. And because of this, Kenya now risks losing a crucial chunk of the land and even paying billions of shillings in compensation. So now, should Somalia take that, we'll still have to pay them.
No, Somalia takes only 2 people. Kenya carries 50 people to The Hague to eat sausage and beans and maybe women. Look for women and the women look for men. Because, let's be very honest, why do you carry 50 people to go to The Hague? To do what?
The delegation would comprise 50.
For what?
Again, Somalis too.
No, for what? You find some of these boys don't even know how to wear a tie, that they are in the delegation. This is what happened on Rule 68. When they carried Gunjiri from here, and they said Matanga should not go. When I reached there, Matanga was already accredited. An international acclaimed activist was already accredited with credentials to enter. Ngunjiri could not enter. What a shame. And the DP told people, Matanga should not go there. I am the one who saved this Rule of 68. God is watching me.
And here a highlight piece here, it says that according to the maritime law experts, Kenya shouldn't have allowed Somalia to move to the ICJ. And also at the moment, Kenya's argument appears to be based on 2 points. That number one is Somalia lacks the capability to secure its own waters, and the provisions of the April 7, 2009 Memorandum of Understanding with Somalia. So we've dealt with this matter before in 2009, and appears the 2 countries had agreed on how to handle this issue.
Yeah, look, you can't give a lawless state to govern a boundary in the Indian Ocean if they cannot even manage a toilet. That's the truth. I don't hate any Somali. I love them. In Uganda, they are our best friends. They do business. They are very hard-working people. Some of us love them so much. But the problem is the leadership there that is confusing everybody. The leadership is pumped with external force. And believe me or not, people watch my lips. This external force is going to be France Total Oil. You watch your space.
So, I've seen the money part, Dr.
Yes,
and
go for the money.
During the negotiations in March 2014 through to July 2014, which understatably gobbled up to 3 billion Kenya shillings, the delegation comprised 50. Oh my goodness, the 50 people, they used 3 billion Kenya shillings.
No, they should bring back the money.
And Somalia only had.
And no. Bring back the money, then I go for free. I go for bed and breakfast. I'm suffering on the plane. Honestly, 3 billion shillings doing what? Each Kenyans. 3 billion.
3 billion, yes, they gobbled. That was between March and July. Can you believe that? About 3 months. Between March 2014 and July 2014. They used up to 3 billion Kenya shillings. 50 people.
So of me who goes with bed and breakfast, what do I do?
It's okay.
Should I hang myself? My dear, have you seen that? I told you. I told you.
So will that be the reason why Somalia right now is really not interested in talks, because they had initiated
Yes.
the talks before, and the people who attacked in
So
the
there
Kenyan
must
side
be,
refused.
on a serious note, there must be accountability.
Yes.
And we are, if I were the president, I'm not going to sleep without some people going to jail. You can't bungle such an institution. You can't know. The thing of this, you don't, listen, you don't need to go there. There is a very clear option. You don't need to go there. This is not a criminal court that they will summon you and put what? What? What will they do? What will they do? This court is a talking shop with a Somali judge in front there. You don't need to go to such a court. You now need to subpoena what Matsanga put in there as a state. I don't know why Kenya is not thinking. I have put a ground for them. They need to subpoena my evidence and ask the court to sort that mess as a state before they go there. Don't use this excuse that you are looking for lawyers. That's childish. And I'm being honest. So if those who think that they are doing this under this or secrecy, what secrecy?
3 billion Kenya shillings.
Go about 3 billion shillings. It has pained me. Since I saw this thing in the morning, do you know what? Yes, I put my blanket on top of me.
Is that why you're 5 minutes late?
Yes. 16 minutes late.
You're 16 minutes late.
I had to put a blanket over my head. Hey.
That's Kenya for you. It's ridiculous. And now we see here, Doctor.
And you find, do you know, you find the men who are in court, they don't want you to say anything as an activist. And one of them is Ogeto. He doesn't want anybody to do activism on this case. He is, even on ICC, you know, they wrote to me, I have not published these emails. One, I'm going to publish them. They said, don't remove a lawyer of my friend who is going to be jailed. And you write me an email that I should remove. I should drop out of this case. And today they are enjoying the fruit. No way.
3 billion.
No, look, they have now started it again. They are using this as a cash cow. No. Time has come for some of us to say the truth. I have emails from the lawyers, Khan and so on, telling me to get out of the case. Yet it is me who blew up OTP4, a liar. They took all the money and they went with it to buy houses in London. I have nothing. And they are at it now again in this ministry. They are eating. 50 people. You carry 50 for what? Somalia carried on the 2.
Can you believe that?
2.
It's ridiculous.
Why do you carry 50 with suits? Then people go for shopping in these places, Marks and Spencer, wapi. Wanakuja na biti yako, you have the girlfriends, calicos, what? No. Time has come to condemn. If they can't do it, leave us, international activists. There are people, lawyers, there are sharp lawyers in those towns. I tell you, when I went last week, Brussels, The Hague, then back to London, I saw sharp lawyers able to defend Africa. Very sharp boys.
Who are Africans?
They speak the best language. They speak the English. Then people run for these men. That Karim can do what? What can Karim do?
We had all white lawyers.
No way.
Kenya's government.
I am not going to agree this time.
All right, and we look at Doctor here on the front page of the Star newspaper, and now there's a proposed law that organizers of Harambes will need vetting and approval, and it says Harambes to require license, and donors must declare gifts and source of cash to Kenya Revenue Authority.
Yes. Kwisha. That's another blow. Thank you very much. It's another good blow. Declare. You can't be dishing 12 million when some people have no food. Where are you getting it?
So it continues to say that Kenya.
No, you don't have a factory.
Yes.
Look here, you don't have a factory that manufactures even in money or goods that we can see on the road. You don't have trucks like a Buzeki. What do you have? No, where is a factory that manufactures needles, which is being sold in a market every day? The factory is corruption network.
Entrepreneurs.
Tenderpreneurs. That's the word I was looking for. Tender. They're tender. And they sit and they eat it. These guys just ate that man of Kimeroro. They ate it. That's a blot to any civilization. I feel for you people in Kenya. I feel so much, so hard. When you tell me 3 billion was taken on an issue that Matanga has just, have you seen the way Famijo is panicking when he hears the name? He's now watching. You have seen his people here? One of them is here. One of them, Abdul Salam, is coming. They are watching from Villa, Somalia. They say the guy is in. They want to hear what I'm talking about, the Famijo. One man, I'm shaking, the Famijo is not eating food. Now he calls me fat boy kafir. Thank you, but I am gonna make sure that you might not serve the whole term. I am in touch with those MPs. I am, and I don't want to tell a lie. I am.
Cholma Korea is saying 54 African leaders should go to African Continental Court for trial, not foreign court. AU is sleeping. So it's like we should get our own courts here. And you've said that even President Kenyatta contributed.
President Kenyatta paid $1 million. $1 million
to this court.
To the African Court of Justice. Up to today, if you look for this money, they have eaten it.
All right, so this is what it continues to say. Kenyans who want to hold Harambes are headed for strict scrutiny and a proposed law requiring them to obtain a license. Contributors must declare the source of the contribution and declare the same in their annual tax returns. The Public Fundraiser Appeals Bill 2019 says no person or organization will be allowed to solicit funds from public without the license. The legislation to be read for the first time this week proposes the creation of a public fundraising and appeals committee to vet the applications. So will this not look like it's targeting a section of especially politicians in this country? And seeing how Parliament is comprised now, what are the chances of even this bill sailing through, Doctor?
Yeah, the bill, it will go through. But the people, Sylvanus is talking to you. The people in the Parliament are already in favor of someone. So in the Parliament, it might not go through.
So that is dead on arrival. That
is
what you're saying. Silvano, sorry, I'll try. I'm soft-spoken. I'll try to be more audible. I apologize for that. So that is just what is in the front pages of the Star newspaper this morning, and of course today is the deadline of the old 1,000 Kenya shillings note. So if you're having that money in the house, please rush to the bank and change and get to the newer currency, because after midnight today, that that note will be useless. Itakuwa kuwasha moto, as you've been saying.
Yes.
Jiko.
Yes, kuwasha moto.
Kuwasha moto, yes.
Another headache for President Famijo is here. He's eating the money.
He's
corrupt, yes. No. Somali president Mohammed Abdullahi Mohammed alias Famajo returns to Mogadishu to face a problem whether to turn the capital into a federal state.
Actually, I have
Hapo tutaanza hapo.
No, I have it on the news today.
Yes.
And there's a part of that they want to have their own state. You know, right now, Somali currently has 6 federal states.
Yes.
So there's one that also wants that and Mogadishu will be part of it. So I don't know where the capital, the capital of Somalia is going to be. But that is another headache.
No, it can be a state. No problem. For it to be managed properly, I agree with the Somalis. They can have it as a state.
But seeing that the federal state like Somaliland wants to completely secede, do you think Famajo is going to agree to this really?
But eventually it will go. You know, he's doing very bad politics in the region. Those states are going to go. One of these superpowers is going to wake up in the morning and recognize one of those places. I'm telling you, Famajo better plays very good politics with us neighbors. He might be at a loss. He might go down in history as the president of Somalia who lost Somalia.
Who lost Somalia?
Yes.
To who?
To the powers be.
In
One
Somalia?
of these days, one of the states, it won't take long with the type of politics that is taking place in this region. One of these days, one of the states in Somalia will declare itself a republic, and that will be the end.
Somaliland has been trying to
Yes,
do that. Yes.
they will do it. It will be recognized.
And we've seen even the president sending some delegation from the country to meet other heads of state across Africa, which has really angered President Abdullahi Mohammed, that is AKA Famajo there. So it's been trying to really secede completely. So with these new calls for the Benadir region to want to have their own autonomy, and to the capital region of Benadir, argue that it could ensure local resources are used properly away from the functions of the federal government. So apparently, what advice is the need for these people wanting to have their own autonomy is because of corruption and poor management of public resources.
Exactly.
Something that is also killing us here.
Yeah, but theirs is worse because they don't even have a bank.
Because the structures are not really...
They work on the Bashir and this small, what are they called?
Dabashir and
Wahari. Is it Wahari? They transfer money in Wahari measures. I don't know any friend of mine, Abdulaziz Ahmed, where you are. What are those forex transfers called? Waharu or Wahari?
Abdulaziz Ahmed.
Ahmed from Mogadishu.
I know the Hashil or something like that. There are quite a number of them. And of course, when Kenya wanted, Al-Shabaab to be declared a terrorist group, which Al-Shabaab is a terrorist group, I'm still shocked that they've refused. But what Somalia was arguing and other bodies there is that should Al-Shabaab declared a terrorist group, that it will affect even the manner the forex bureau exchange like the Bashir, because they are the ones that are able to transact money, because the banking sector in Somalia is almost non-existent. So it's through that even the Al-Shabaab get their monies, the money is remitted. So they were arguing that also will be targeted, and the common Somalis...
Hawala. Yes.
Hawala.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you very much, Ali. Abdullahi.
Hawala. Yes.
Is Hawala. It is called Hawala.
And what are you...
Thank you very much, boss. Thank you.
And what are you calling him? Can you say his name?
Abdullahi Ali.
You just mix these names and make a compound noun.
Yes, Abdullahi.
Yes.
Lai. Thank you very much, Hawala. Hawala is the way that Somalia conducts its business. So, Qatar paid for the embassy. Mr. Famajo took some commission. Now the Minister of Finance says Qatar. He says, Wasame, don't worry. I am already there. I wanted that judge if he doesn't get off the panel, you will not see Kenya there, I'm sorry. So you can go and make your cake and eat it. You know, these guys they have not found someone to tell them the truth. We have stomached you too much. Watu wamestomaka nyenye kabisa. We work so hard, we die there for them, we pacify the country, we are helping them to rebuild as a state. They come down to slash us and backbite us and stab us. It's not very good. We are all Africans. November 4th, Mr. Wasame, I will be in The Hague. Come and meet me at the picketing line. Then you see how I will show how weak you are. You have seen the volume. I'm here. Don't think what you do in Mogadishu, you do it there. There is civilization. I'm now telling you off. We meet there outside the gates of the ICJ. I've mobilized the Biafrans. I've mobilized Nigerians, Ghanaians, all in Europe. We shall meet there from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. You come there. You come. Dutch police will separate us. Because nyenye mnatishatisha watu pande hii. Mukuje huko where there is rule of law. Let's meet outside. You have not even got permission. Where will you stand? You think this is Mogadishu where you will walk in?
I'm sure they will in time.
Yeah, but you have to apply like I have done. I have got my permission to picket with my people. And I have mobilized. Nyenye mnafikiri mtatishatisha watu hapa Afrika tena mtutishatisha huko. You come and we meet there outside. Come.
Abdullahi, so you will come, but you'll be in the side of Somalia. All right.
Don't worry.
So you'll meet with
whether you bring Famijo himself, we shall Famijo him. Cheese, we shall eat him. Yes. These people are very tiring. You help them. Ugandan troops are dying every day there. My brothers are dying for them. They have no sympathy for us. They have sympathy for themselves.
All right, so there you go. Do I get into African
So
news?
come. No, let them come. My picketing is logical with brains, and I will hand over the petition. Kenya will not be there. Sorry. And I will hand on the petition to the judges. I'm not going to shout with you. But if you cross our path that day, Kwisha, we also know how to do it. Some of us are ex-military. Don't look at us that here we are on a microphone. We don't know how to fight with tactics. Don't threaten people. You threaten people here. You go for soft targets. Why don't you go and meet the military men themselves? Mutakimbia na suka yenye yo mutupe. Wacha. Tisha watu every day. Kuja huko. You come there to The Hague on 3rd, 4th, 5th. And you cross our line. We have been told to stand someplace. We shall not come where you are. Present your views and go. And that's what we shall do. There is rule of law there, not rule of Mogadishu. All of us are Africans, and therefore you have decided to take the problem to Europeans to laugh at us. Let's go. Let's go and be laughed at. You know, you don't want to solve this problem. This problem can be solved in Africa. President Museveni can solve this problem. Famijo should respect people here. He can't run to international court of Americans that is set by permanent members of the Security Council who are making us fight everywhere in Africa. Then what is it that we have, our people are dying in Somalia for? If they withdraw from Somalia, the rest of these Wasames will die like locusts.
All right.
Abdul Ali, you have booked your ticket. Continue booking. We also have booked. And we call upon all Kenyans who are around Hague, Dutch, Denmark, those who can come down by plane, by train, by road, carry your food, carry everything. Come. Those who have accommodation around there, help to house one person for a day. I'm also mobilizing. Wacha chiumane huko. If Famijo thought this is a simple thing, he won't get it. Kenya cannot go into a place where a Somali judge is presiding over. If Somalia has got the brains, let them tell that man who was the owner, the one who wrote the maritime law for UN and who wrote a maritime agreement for a friend of Famijo is the presiding judge. The father of that judge is an advisor, one of the elders of the clan of Famijo. So you tell me what justice we are going there for? That we collect 50 people, we take there and eat 3 billion.
In 4 months.
Charles Kelly said, Harwale scared you away. Harwale, I scared Harwale away. I am not an opportunist. I don't want to be on a TV. I am on my TV. Can't you see me, Charles, now? I'm freer to talk what I want.
All right. Do I go now to, I read African news and then we can come back and continue with the conversation, Doctor? You have some breaking news. Radiel Yassin, you're saying 500,000 Somalis are leaving Europe and they will be there in the court. Okay. And the Chol Makor, you're saying Horn of Africa matter will be solved, should be solved by AU, not European.
Thank you very much. And congratulations to our former program officer and youth advocate Bashir Yusuf, who has just been named the new Chief Justice of Somalia. Breaking news, Hassan Haile has appointed a storekeeper to become a Chief Justice. Have you seen Africa, how Africa goes down? There you are. It has just come now. Congratulations to our former program officer and the youth advocate, Bashir Yusuf Ahmed, who has just been named the new Chief Justice of Somalia. Your Master Corps family is rooting for you. What? This was a storekeeper who was counting food for Norwegian aid. Like a Haye. Like a Hassan Haye. You know, Hassan Haye was a director of Norwegian food supplier for hungry people. Now he has appointed this man as a Chief Justice. Look at this guy. Can this guy even interpret law?
Maybe he has studied the law.
No, Jermaine, what is this going on?
Perhaps he studied.
Okay, let's see. We shall Google him. Let me send this to production so that they can bring the picture to the world. The man in the store, in the food store, there you are. Bring it to the world. The man in the food store now is there. That's now the new Chief Justice
Of Somalia.
of Somalia. Surely,
Maybe he's qualified. Have they put the credentials there?
it's a storekeeper. A food storekeeper has been. Radia Yassin, have you seen how you are being reduced? Chief Justice is an elderly wisdom person.
Like Maraga.
Maraga. Unfortunately, Maraga has also let us down. So we are at a loss. I tell you, we are at a loss. Thank you very much, Miriam. Take it over. And let that picture of the new Chief Justice of Somalia come. Acho Mako asks a very serious question. What is the connection between Somalia and Yemen? Exactly. All of them have conduitism of terrorism. Terrorists from Yemen are sneaking through Eritrea into the Al-Shabaab bases. That guy is now the new Chief Justice of Somalia. So if we have this type of diesel men, is now in a warehouse there. So what is going on in this country? Shall we rebuild it? Surely. It's like a Buhari picking. Buhari picked someone who had no certificate and said the certificates were eaten by termites.
The Chief Justice also.
Yes. Africa is a laughing stock, I'm telling you. Buhari.
And it's very interesting that the guy is still serving while the one who was fully qualified was removed on very flimsy excuses before the elections in February.
So thank you very much, Miriam. Over to you. The headlines here are Harambee to require license bill. The inside of the workings of Uhuru's new state. Where? You forgot this?
Uhuru has new state. Or his inner people in government there. That's very interesting.
And the President Uhuru Kenyatta says, best laid plans. There are two people who are determined to slay the dragon of sleaze, corruption. When they come for you, don't call me.
Yeah, that is a warning shot that he gave people who are being who corrupt leaders and people in this country who, if the law is going for them, would call the president to try and find their way out of the problem. But President Uhuru Kenyatta there told them, you are on your own.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the Ruto vows to teach Raila a lesson.
In Kibra.
In Kibra. I don't think there is Raila being taught a lesson. Why don't we have people who represent the Kibra people instead of Raila being taught a lesson? This type of language does not go well. Jamen, this can't work in this country. We have just come out of a very terrible experience. But people still talk loudly, like small yo-yos around fire, a fire burning at night. Surely, this type of talk should not be here. We should talk maturely that this nation needs unity. But this type of divisions are the ones that are going to let Kenya down and build the seeds towards. Let's leave it to them.
All right, so good afternoon here from Nairobi. It's a few minutes past 12 noon here in Nairobi, and this is the latest from Africa this afternoon. And we start with Burkina Faso, where the security forces in Burkina Faso say 17 people have been killed in 3 separate attacks in the north of the country. 9 people died when dozens of gunmen attacked Komsilga village, staying there for several hours. And we go to Algeria, where Algeria's powerful army chief has said the military will not back any candidate in a presidential election set for December to choose a successor to ailing President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. And then to Equatorial Guinea, where an auction house in Switzerland is set to sell a collection of luxury cars seized by authorities from the son of Equatorial Guinea's president in a money laundering investigation. The 25 cars include Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and are expected to bring in up to 18.5 million Swiss francs, that is equivalent to 18.7 million US dollars. It was reported on Sunday. The auction comes after the Geneva prosecutor's office announced in February that it had closed a case against Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mangue, a son of country's president of 40 years, Teodoro Obiang Nguema Basongo, and 2 others following an investigation of money laundering and mismanagement of public assets. And Egyptian security forces killed 15 fighters in a shootout at a farm in Restif, North Sinai, the Interior Ministry have said. A statement on Sunday said an armed group was planning hostile acts targeting military and police forces in order to destabilize the national security. And we go to Cameroon, where Pope Francis offered his prayers on Sunday for the success of a meeting of national dialogue that will be held in Cameroon today. Addressing thousands of people at his weekly general audience at St. Peter's Square, the pontiff expressed his closeness to the people of Cameroon and asked that the faithful to pray for a national dialogue and lasting solutions for peace. Cameroon has been gripped by violence since 2016, when government forces crushed a movement of Anglophone teachers and lawyers protesting against their perceived social exclusion by the country's French-speaking majority. And the United Nations mission in the Central African Republic has begun a military operation against an armed group that has signed a peace agreement with Bangui but is continuing to increase its illegal activities, the United Nations confirmed in a statement. The operation, which began on Thursday, aims to push the 3-year group return claim rehabilitation back into the deployment areas set for it as part of the peace agreement signed in February. Now, MINUSCA said in its statement dated last Friday. We go to Zambia, where proposed constitutional reforms that will sharply increase President Edgar Lungu's power ahead of elections in 2021 are stoking concerns about Zambia's democratic credentials, analysts and civil society say. Bill number 10 is to be discussed soon by Parliament, where the ruling Patriotic Front holds a majority, and Lungu has been in power since 2015, faces mounting complaints that is cracking down on dissent and seeking to consolidate power. And we go to Uganda, where Ugandan investigative reporter and news anchor Solomon Serwanja, who has won the 2019 BBC World News Comrade D'Amour Award. Serwanja is a presenter at Uganda's NBS TV, where he hosts one of the channel's primetime shows. He has also produced award-winning reports, including one of the BBC Africa Eye program about the illegal sale of prescription drugs. And we go to Senegal, where Senegal's president has pardoned the former mayor of the capital city, Dakar, who was jailed for 5 years in 2018 on corruption charges. Khalifa Sall was arrested in March 2017 for allegedly embezzling $3 million in public funds. But critics accuse President Macky Sall, who is not related to the former mayor, of making up the charges to remove a political rival, and the conviction barred the popular former mayor from standing in February's presidential election. So that is the latest from Africa this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching us. So now, after the elections in 2018, President Sall now has decided to remove the former mayor from jail.
Who is also a brother.
Mm-hmm. No, this is they just share the name.
He's related to President Sall. They're related.
No, the brother is the one who is corrupt, who has a case with Shell Petrol. Remember the Shell?
But this one was also
The mayor.
yes, because he was planning to stand against him. That's Africa for you.
So he took him to jail.
Yes. Another thing that I've caught in your African news is the question of Cameroon, Amazonia. How do you call? Why is the Pope praying wrongly? You can't pray for peer to put fake dialogue. When people have been imprisoned for life, release the prisoners, then sit on the table, then hammer a channel way home for Amazonia. But now, the prisoners are still in jail. Life sentence. They were sentenced at 5 a.m. in the morning when people are still sleeping. Then you are praying that let there be peace in dialogue. This is a fake dialogue. There's no dialogue there. That's waste of time.
The dialogues are starting today.
It is not with who? With the leaders who are in jail.
Oh, you were not here on Friday.
No.
I had a list of the things that the government wanted to talk about, and secession was not part of it.
Yes.
In fact, they want integration, bilingual. There are like 8 commissions that will be formed, so each will deal with a specific matter that Paul Biya thinks is plaguing Cameroon today. And in each commission, it will have 50 members drawn from different groups and sectors there in Cameroon, including the people of Anglophone. But the leaders of Anglophone, who should be at the table and trying to, bring the concerns of the Anglophone, are still jailed. So these dialogues, the basis of it all, even the foundation of it all, is it really set to find a solution to the problem of Anglophone there, really?
No. It's not. This benefits only public relations stance by Paul Biya. Yes. Another thing that I saw somewhere there is
Zambia's president wants to constitutional changes on the constitution because his term ends next year and he wants to 2021, a year from 2021, not next year, and he wants extension of time.
Who?
Zambia's president, Edgar Lungu. Yes.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Annalise, anything else? I think we've done it very well.
Our friend here, Alfu, is present today.
He's come. Oh, he never came to Africa as promised. We waited for the wine, for the brandy, but it never came. But we are still here. Thank you very much.
That was in February. You've not forgotten.
No, I can't. I can't forget. Thank you very much.
All the way from Tokyo.
Yes. All the way from Tokyo. Thank you very much. God bless you, all of you. God bless Africa. God bless Kenya. Let there be peace. God bless Somalia also. Let Somalia rethink of their action. We have never quarreled to this level. So think again and remove that case. Bring it back to the African solution for Africans themselves. Thank you. This station, therefore, is with Africa by Africa. From me, David Matanga. Good afternoon.
And from me, Miriam Agutu, thank you so much for your company. And we hope to see you here on our next broadcast. And thank you so much for engaging with us today. Bye-bye for now.
The International Court of Justice is a court that was created to solve problems of disputes of any nature. But this court was created on the basis that time times could change, and the constitutionalism and the mandate could also change. The International Court of Justice has never changed. In this court, there is no chamber for appeal. There is no chamber for amicus curiae, for people to bring in their opinions in terms of individuals or organizations that are hurt in one way or the other, or good opinions that could shape the outcome of the findings or the cases filed there. This court, therefore, remains one of the most obnoxious, one of the most opaque institutions whose findings we don't know who decides and how the decisions are taken, how stakeholders are supposed to recourse to a remedy, where to get a remedy, we don't know. A court has no chambers, no lower chamber, no upper chamber for appeal. It has itself as a final court of jurisdiction around the world. Are the people of the world going to say, is Somalia and Kenya going into this court, seeing the obstacles that they will cause for the region? Those are the questions I ask. And I want my viewers and those listening to this tape to understand that Africa needs to solve the problem in an African way. There is no other way to solve the problem of Somalia and Kenya amicably than sitting on a table to have a discussion, find ways of resolving the conflict that has brought us to not talking terms. But Somalia seemed to be pushed by external darker forces to go and dismember the unity that we have in the Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa. ICJ as a court is an institution that is very opaque, very dark in its sense of darkness, that you don't know how decisions are made. There is no counter checks and balances in the decision making. I therefore urge Somalia and Kenya not to attend this court. I urge Somalia and Kenya to avoid this court for the sake of peace in the Indian Ocean. I also have called upon the countries that are supporting Somalia to take this case, to withdraw their support for the sake of security, because we have only one common enemy. The enemy are the terrorists killing the innocent Somalis who need our help to be liberated from these fighters who have come and gathered in the great once country, or the Pearl, one of the Pan-African countries in Africa. Thank you very much, viewers. That is my message to the world. Let's spread it. The International Court of Justice is opaque. It doesn't have appeal chamber. It doesn't have preparation chamber. It doesn't have any. Once the decision is made, the decision is final. Do we need that? Do we call that democratic? I leave it to you. Thank you.
You know, when one is asked to talk about leadership in Africa, one's mind wanders in many directions, because in the recent past, the continent of Africa has been the subject of scrutiny from many quarters. There are those who are Afro-pessimists and take the view that Africa will never realize our potential. There are those Afro-optimists who take the view that the jury is still out on the success or otherwise of the continent of Africa. I am an Afro-optimist. I take the view that this continent has had a glorious past, and that this continent has had her trials and tribulations, but her better days are in the future. There are those who, when talking about Africa, are in the habit of dealing with Africa as if it were one monolithic block. They do not recognize that the beauty of Africa is in her diversity. And indeed, when you care to undertake a geographical survey of Africa, you will be amazed at what the west of Africa offers, what the center of Africa offers, what the south of Africa offers, what the Horn of Africa offers, and what the north of Africa offers. That is the continent that we are talking about today. And we are talking about her because she continues in many ways to punch below her weight. And many are the commentators who take the view that the reason why she continues to punch below her weight is because the men and women who have had the privilege and honor to serve her in different political capacities or leadership capacities have not served her well. There may be merit in that assessment, but those who are quick to judge, those whose only claim to fame is that they are professional fault finders, must ask many questions before they judge and condemn Africa unfairly. This continent, and I remember, and if we are to judge this continent fairly, we must go back to the past and look to the past and ask about this continent. And there are many who have written about this continent. How many of you here will forget the great writings of Senegal's Anta Cheikh Diop, who has documented in many ways the glorious past of the continent of Africa, the great kingdoms in Africa. When Europe was still in the caves, Africans were building monuments. If they were not building them in the Ashanti Empire, they were building them in Monomotapa here in Zimbabwe. And there is a sense in which all those have been consigned to the Museum of History. And those who look at Africa see Africa as a scar on the conscience of humanity, not remembering that they were themselves co-authors of Africa's misfortunes. We are the only continent and the only people in the world who have been commodified. How many of you will remember that agrarian Europe had to commodify Africa in order to realize our level of development? At one time in those early days, we will remember, even as we talk about leadership, that half of the population of this continent was taken away. If they were not taken away from Ghana, which they then christened Gold Coast, they were taken away from Angola. If they were not taken away from Angola, they were taken away from Mozambique. If they were not taken from Mozambique, they were taken from Senegal. If the Arabs were not taking us, the Europeans were taking us. If the Europeans in their different tribes were not conquering us, they were stealing from us. Those are the realities that we don't talk about when we talk about this continent. And you know, if one cares to judge the African continent, one must be historically conscious. The oldest African country after we regained our independence from Greater Chief. And the question that we must ask ourselves, why is it that this continent finds ourselves in that space? If it is not Europe summoning us, it is the United States of America summoning us. Everybody is in the business of summoning us. One may ask, what has this to do with leadership? You know, I listened to the Chinese president speaking in eloquent Mandarin, saying how the relationship between Africa and China is a mutually beneficial relationship. He spoke about Africa as if it was one country. He did not remind himself, in my mind, that there are 55 countries in Africa, or 54 if you ask Morocco. And I listened to the Chinese president specifically mentioning the Gambia and a few words on Sao Tome and Principe, that they were welcomed back to the world because they had renounced their relationship with Taiwan and they had now recognized the one China policy. Do I say this because there is anything wrong with China? No. I'm saying this because the Chinese are providing leadership for their people. They know exactly what they want for their people, and they are doing exactly what they want for their people for the benefit of their people. The question that I'm posing to us, do we know what we want for our people? Are we doing what we need for our people? And the answer is, I doubt. Why do I doubt? I doubt because at the end of the entire enterprise, the Chinese president said that he had given, or his government had given, 60 billion United States dollars to 54 African countries. Notionally, therefore, each country would be entitled to no more than 1.5 billion. Half of the presidents who are present in China, each one of them, half of them, can produce 1.5 billion. Sportsmen in Europe and America, including boxers, can earn $1 billion in a single bout. And we are here celebrating and singing the praises of China because they gave us 60 billion. Once again, it is a statement of their ability to recognize what leadership is all about. I'm submitting to us that when we interact with people like the Chinese, there is something to learn from them. We may condemn them at forums such as this, but there is wisdom in asking ourselves, how is it that this country, which about 30 years ago could not feed half our population, has in 30 years during our lifetime succeeded in pulling up nearly 800 million people out of poverty? How is it that every road that is now being built in Africa, whether the road is in Benin or in Nairobi, Kenya, or in Johannesburg, South Africa, or in Kigali, in Rwanda, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is a Chinese firm whose name I cannot pronounce as the contractor for that firm? How is it? How is it that China, which about 30 years ago did not produce a mobile phone, today out of every 10 mobile phones, we are using 6 which are from China? If it is not Techno, it is some other phone. If we are not inviting Jack Ma, we are inviting another Chinese, because we have seen that they have the ability to organize their affairs. Some of us, particularly those of us who are in the middle class, our pride is that our child is learning Mandarin as a second language, not isiZulu, Mandarin. I fear, Bishop, that in the next few years, when they bring their children for baptism, and you ask them, how do you name this child? They'll say, Deng Xiaoping Simfiwe. I'm still talking about leadership. We have seen what leadership can do. Leadership has catapulted China to another completely different orbit. We have seen that leadership has catapulted South Korea to a different orbit. We have seen that leadership has catapulted Vietnam, which was bombed to the ground in 1975. Vietnam now produces more coffee than all African countries combined. What have they done? The men and women who have been given the opportunity to serve those countries long recognize that leadership is about service. And I can't agree more with the Honorable Minister who spoke before me and the good Dr. Aaron who spoke before me that the true essence of leadership is self-discovery and self-esteem. You know, where I come from in my tribe, and I know in many African communities, when you do something very well, they say, you have done it like a white man. When you arrive on time, they say, he has arrived like a white man. When you speak well, they say, you spoke like a white man. When you dress well, you dress like a white man. When you go to a beautiful place in Africa, you say, it does not look like Africa, as if Africans are incapable of doing the right things. And I'm telling us that until the day that we exercise the ghost of low self-esteem, Africa is going nowhere. I'm submitting to us that history has demonstrated times without number that personal conquest is the beginning of true leadership. If you don't conquer yourself, you are going nowhere. And I'm submitting to us that Africa must now recognize that whatever institutions you have, until and unless it is populated by men and women who have ideals, those institutions will collapse, never to be put together again. So going forward, ladies and gentlemen, I hold the view that a conference such as this, that brings together men and women who recognize that Africa should occupy her pride of place amongst the Committee of Nations, must be a conference at which we speak to each other honestly. I think we Africans have been too kind to each other for too long. The time has come that we must annoy each other. It is only when we have annoyed you sufficiently that we can canalize that anger, and that anger can then be used to move mountains. And my joy is that Africa is not sleeping. My joy is that Africans are now beginning to wake up to the reality that we have not only the intellectual wherewithal, but that we have the resources to make our countries grow and grow in the proper direction. You know, not so long ago, and not so long ago in this case means about 50 years ago, I read and listened to the leaders of the early days. If you listen to any one of those leaders, the clarity with which they were able to identify the problems of Africa and the clarity with which they were able to prescribe the medicine that could solve the problems of Africa was as titillating as it was as astounding. You know, I listen to the more casual works and I read the casual works of a young leader in the 1980s, such as Thomas Sankara. You know, Thomas Sankara is a young individual whose claim to formal education was not very much. He did not hold any PhD. He was an army officer. He overthrows the government of Upper Volta, and he goes into government and poses the question, why are we called Upper Volta? And he says the first thing that we must do is to change the name of this country so that it becomes Burkina Faso, the land of the upright man, and that the people of this country must be called the Burkinabe, the upright people. And he says we have been suffering with hunger and food shortages for too long. We have depended on France for too long. We can no longer be children and toddlers in our adulthood. We cannot be in economic and political diapers for too long. And he begins to release the country. And no sooner has he succeeded in doing this than the erstwhile colonial power says that this is a bad example. And they eliminate him. And not only Thomas Sankara. I remember the man for whom I am named in 1961, Patrice Emery Lumumba, only aged 36, and he recognizes, and on that day of independence, not being scheduled to speak, he speaks nevertheless, and he says how happy he is that the history of the Congolese will be written by the Congolese, and they take him away. I listened to Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah saying that Africa cannot be free unless the whole of it is free. I look at the casual works of Bantu Stephen Biko. I listen to the casual works of Samora Moises Machel. I read the casual works of Modibo Keita in Mali. I look at the works of Agostino Neto, the works of Africans who are clear. And those of you who are alive, then you could see that the indices of development in Africa were moving up north. If it was not infant mortality that was beginning to be lowered, it was maternal mortality and crude death rates. Africa was moving. But remember that Charles Darwin is still right. In this jungle that we call the world is survival of the fittest and the dying of the least suitable. When we begin to rise as a people, there are those whose only claim to success is to put us down, to tell us, not in so many words, that we are children of a lesser God. It is our duty to tell them that we are not. And that is why we have forums such as this. You know, there are those who may say, and I'm one of them, that perhaps in Africa we hold too many seminars, that we hold too many conferences, that we hold too many colloquia. But I hold the view that these things must be repeated time and time again, so that if they are clear, they become even clearer. Is it not true that gold must be in the fire and the furnace before it is refined? Is it not true that Africa has men and women, the 1.2 billion of us, that we have the ability to catapult this continent to a higher level? You know, there was a time that Africa deluded herself, that a leader was one in the nature of Moses, communing directly with God, and that this leader had a rod and staff, and that he would part the Red Sea of disease, and disease would disappear by pronouncement of abracadabra. That this leader would call and summon manna from heaven, and manna would fall. No, that is not leadership. Leadership is all of us, each one of us, in our little villages. The great American Ralph Waldo Emerson was right when he said, when we want the world to be clean, don't complain about the dirt in the world. Sweep your front yard and let your neighbor sweep their front yard. And lo and behold, when we have all swept, the world will be clean. I'm now on a spiritual dimension. Mother Teresa was also right when she said, when you go into a room and you find that there is darkness, don't complain about the darkness. Take a candle, light your candle, let your neighbor light a candle, and light will conquer the darkness. You know, I've been asked to give a concluding keynote address, not to preach and pontificate. So I must now move to conclude. And in my conclusion, warning you as I do, that having sat next to a politician, when I say conclude, that is the beginning of the second phase of my speech. But let me conclude by saying the following things. That this continent is now at crossroads. And when you are at crossroads, it means that you are faced with two roads. And you've got to make a conscious decision which is the road to take. And I think Africa made this decision. In the year 2013, the African leaders, whether you like them or not, that is another debate. You elected them or they happen to be the leaders, and therefore they are the political leaders. And it is important to make a distinction between leadership in its broad sense and political leadership. Political leadership is the most visible leadership and the most effective in terms of marshalling all our resources and ensuring that they are coordinated in a manner that benefits us all. That is why political leadership is at the very heart of human development. The politicians sat in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia and came up with Agenda 2063. You know, Agenda 2063 says many things, but this is how I imagine Africa Agenda 2063. That in the year 2063, South Africa will have a GDP of 3 trillion United States dollars. And at that time, we shall not be measuring our GDP in dollar terms. We shall be measuring our GDP in Afro terms. Our currency will be called Afro. And the Afro will be the strongest currency in the world. And the GDP of South Africa will be 3 trillion. That the per capita income of South Africa will be 30,000 Afro. And that all our children will go and gain education from primary to university, the cost being underwritten by our taxes. That all our minerals will have a value addition, that we shall no longer be importing complete products from China. There will be a mobile phone. Namibia will be manufacturing a mobile phone. And that 1 million Africans will be using that mobile phone. That phone will be called Mobi Africa. And Namibia will not stop there. I look to that day, Botswana will no longer be selling any cows to Europe. Those cows and the meat from Botswana will be consumed in the continent of Africa, and Lesotho will not be left behind. And Eswatini will also be a Shangri-La where we will go for tourism, and it will not stop there. Mozambique will have some of the biggest ports in Africa, and Tanzania will be there, and Malawi will be there, and Zambia will be there, and Angola will be there, and Equatorial Guinea will have new leaders, and Equatorial Guinea will be the equivalent of the Silicon Valley. In 2063, the Democratic Republic of Congo will no longer have any conflicts. We'll have power being generated from the Inga Dam, and I can assure you that at that time, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, and South Sudan, and Ethiopia, and Eritrea, and Somali, and Djibouti, there'll be a road connecting all these countries. And it will not stop there. It will go on to Central African Republic. It will go on to Cameroon, and Gabon, and Benin, and Togo, and Sierra Leone, and Liberia, and the Gambia, and Mali, and Mauritania, and all these countries, and Sao Tome and Principe, and the Seychelles, and Mauritius, because there'll be leaders at that time. You know, in 1978, when I was reading Chinua Achebe's book, Things Fall Apart, the elders asked the question, and where are the young suckers that will grow when the old banana dies? Today I want to submit to you that where we sat, I saw old bananas. But when I look at this side, I see the young suckers that are growing when the old banana dies. And the truth of leadership, as I conclude, true leadership, Julius Kambarage Nyerere was right. If you are a true leader, you are not successful unless your successor succeeds. And this is the message that we must send to all African leaders. The other thing that we must tell our leaders, and we who are leaders wherever we are, is that leadership is a relay marathon race, and that leadership is intergenerational. You are not a leader unless you have grown leaders, and you are not a leader unless you are a servant. Jesus of Nazareth was right. He amongst you who wants to lead, he must be a servant. Our Africans of old were right that our chiefs were not rulers over us, but custodians. So, my friend Masiza, you have brought us to a good thing. For those of you who are present in this assembly, go out now into the world. Go out into the world knowing and recognizing that Africa will be built village by village. Go out into the world to know that you are the drop that will make the ocean overflow. Go out into the world recognizing what the Chinese long recognized, that the greatness of the ocean is because the ocean does not reject any river. So go out there and take the knowledge that is necessary. So go out into the world recognizing that Africa will fail or succeed on leadership, and leadership means servanthood. So go out there. The world has seen too many comedians. The world now wants actors who will serve. Go out and be blessed.
Fellow Africans, every time we are challenged on matters of importance, there is always a path for redemption. The only thing that Kenya needs at the moment is redemption. It's a redemption strategy that can create a coexistence of all the people, all the tribes, all regions, and all shades of opinions. Challenges come at an hour where a country is on a test. Test runs are always the most crucial points. That's where experiments collapse. Kenya is not an experiment. Kenya is a nation that has existed for 56 years. The challenges, therefore, should not make us hate each other. These challenges should unite us, should unite the people of Kenya to push forward an agenda, to follow their president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, in delivering the agenda for a better Kenya. A better Kenya will produce a better East Africa. A better East Africa will produce a better Africa. The challenges, the obstacles that come amongst us are many, but we can overcome them through discussion, a wider range of discussion, wider disagreements to agree and disagree, to agree again and disagree to disagree. But we should not form clubs, units, militias, hatred of that nature that can take us to the history. Germany today is Germany because it doesn't want to go to the path of the history. Germany goes to the path of development. Over 70 years ago, Germany was at war with the entire world. Today, it is on the path of resolving some of the problems that come. I want us to stand in the place of Germany and look forward and backwards. See what we can do here, but not yearn for what is in Rome. What is in Rome is safeguarded. But in Sicily, which is Kenya, we need to build a foundation for the younger generation that we are going to live here today. The many who have no employment, the poverty, the ignorance, the diseases that kill the people of Africa. We need to find a modium of operation. Modus operandi. The only modus operandi on this is a united peaceful Kenya. A Kenya united by values of respect and adherence to the rule of law. A Kenya without schemes of elimination or fiction of elimination or murders written by themselves. A Kenya without any hatred against the president. A Kenya that supports the constitutional roots that the 2010 constitution of yours brought. That is how Africa will rise and shine again. Thank you.